Great. So first of all, thank you so much for joining. I know that time is our most precious resource that everybody on this call and everybody, I would just say any human being has. And so I greatly appreciate you joining. I feel privileged to be here. I'm going to give a brief introduction of myself just now, and then I'm going to be using some slides. But most of this conversation is going to be about doing things together. It's going to be more workshops. So if you don't have a pen and paper close by, please get one. Because as I'm going to be introducing topics, I'm going to be prompting you to actually write things down and find out things about yourself, and also learn things how the brain works and how we do a bit of forecasting about the future. So please do, if you don't have a pen and paper, please get a pen and paper. It would be good if you had headphones. It's not 100% necessary. We will be using music to do some fun stuff with our brain, and this was the beginning of the session here, was all about getting us also into this emotional state, and music does that for us. So I am Rosario Londono, and I am originally from Colombia. I've been living in DC, Washington, DC for over 25 years now. I have a different story background, economist by training, doing a lot of work with financial markets and impact investment. And at the same time, in parallel, I've been working, trying to figure out human mind behavior. And I'm going to start sharing my screen to just give you a sense of why I've been kind of living this dual life for a long time, that now it has converged. So when I was 18 years old, living in Colombia and going to the university, I had my first encounter with human trafficking. There are a lot of street children in my country, a lot of poverty, and I became the big sister to a young girl, 14 years old, who became pregnant. And I started helping her at 18, trying to be a mother to both of them. And at some point, I didn't have the resources to really support her. She kept asking me for money, and I didn't really know how to come across or what I needed to do. So I said, look, I can't keep giving you money. It's about changing yourself, but it was all rhetoric. And one day when I came to meet her, the baby was no longer with her, and she had sold it to human traffickers. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice. I get still nervous about it. That completely changed my life at 18 years old. And I embarked on this parallel way of saying, how can I solve big problems in the world, like poverty, but at the same time, how do I communicate with people that live in trash and are so desperate that they even sell their babies? And fast forward, I ended up working for a development bank here in Washington, DC. And I came across the story of this young lady in one of my projects in Brazil. She's 15 years old, and she had been arrested for petty theft, left in a jail with men by mistake, who raped and tortured her. And the big question for me in designing projects for these young people were like, what do we do for them? Can people actually come out of that deep trauma? How is there even an option for people that are in these big issues? And then I had my own experience with my father, who was very strong and he's still alive against the drug cartels in Colombia. And this is his car. He was miraculously survived the bomb that unfortunately many other people died in that. But I was also being tested along the way of how do we overcome these very big challenges. At the same time, I was helping and working with street children and living this life here in DC of big macroeconomic challenges. So ever since I was 18, I started taking a lot of training programs to understand human behavior. And recently, my worlds have connected. I say recently, in the past 10 years. A lot of the tools that I learned to work with street children, that I've practiced myself to get myself out of this, let's say, trauma, started to connect with my world of systems change and innovation and entrepreneurship. And I now work with executives in big corporates like Netflix and Citibank, Accenture, and others, and helping their teams innovate. Because a lot of what I was learning with these young people who are in these very difficult situations is now applicable to many and most of us, given the way the world is changing so fast. And so the next slides, I'm just going to show them to you. And the reason why I'm going to show them is not to brag about what I'm, a member of or where things are coming. I am showing this because I've learned that our brains will listen more when we have some validation. And so what I'm sharing with you today is not me just, coming up with some ideas and reading some books. I'm representing a lot of knowledge that is science-based, as far as science has been able to determine, because science gets debunked all the time. So I'm just here to share with you. I'm a fellow of this World Innovation Organization, also entrepreneurship since 2005. I've had the fortune to work with His Holiness the Dalai Lama on neuroplasticity and mindfulness geared towards children and youth, geared towards, do these kids have a second chance? Is there a way to rewire the brain? For PTSD, how long does it take? What do we do about these things? The co-founder of a League of Entrepreneurs. We're in several countries. These are innovators inside large organizations or small organizations. Also, working with MIT, trying to figure out systems change. So again, I'm just showing these things as a way to say that the tools that I'm about, and maybe for you, this would be important. I know that one of the speakers here was Mark Thornton. We did this in partnership, thanks to Ariane that connected us, really thinking about the power of technology to empower human beings, right? Not to keep us captured. So there were some efforts there and some lessons learned. Some things worked out, some others didn't. Part of this BMW Responsible Leaders Network, where I get a lot of the source of information of what's working for these leaders. It's about 1,800 leaders around the world. There's also some in Ukraine, a lot of people trying to help Ukraine right now. So again, I'm just showing you this because my search has always been, I need to find tools that are so simple, right? Think about these kids, street children that I started to try and help and couldn't, but they have to be profound, right? They have to really make an impact. So what I'm going to share with you is so simple but profound that it gets overlooked. I remember making a presentation to the executive team at Citibank, and when I shared these tools 6 years ago, a lot of the research that we now have didn't exist. And I remember looking at me like, what? Like, yeah, forget it. Forget this woman. Like, she doesn't really know what she's talking about. So please don't override what I'm sharing with you just because it seems that it's simple. At least give it a try, because I'm telling you that executives are going to MIT to learn these tools and pay like $30,000 to $45,000 a weekend just to learn what I'm going to be sharing with you now. So again, don't be deceived by the simplicity. Now, if there's two things you take up from this, is that there's two tools that every single human being has under any circumstance. It's our breathing, because as long as we're alive, we're breathing, and access to what we're believing in the moment, right? To our beliefs. And so these two things are your secret powers. If you learn to manage breath and belief, and I know from past presentations, I was able to glimpse through them. I wasn't able to listen to all of them, but I know previous speakers on this call have already talked to you about beliefs, about thoughts, maybe even some breath. So some of this will seem similar because it's powerful, right? We're all sharing what we think it's very powerful. Now, lately, there's a third one that I'm learning, which is beats, which is music. And that's why I'm talking about having headphones, and it's not necessary, but we're learning that breath, beliefs, and beats, like music, right? Music has existed from the beginning of the Homo sapiens. This is how we communicate. We become collectively stronger through music. We get moved through music. So these are the three things that everyone on this call has access to at any given time. It doesn't matter where you are. Even in, there's a lot of studies from concentration camps. They had access to their just internal voices or musics or tapping. It's very powerful. So we're going to be looking at this and experimenting with this. So for the first thing that I want to say, again, simple yet profound. Here are just some, shows of that what I'm talking about is backed up by, Harvard. And there's a book that if you have access to it, please read it. It came out in 2021. It's called Breath. And for the longest time, people were seeing kind of woo-woo. If you're doing meditation, if you're breathing, there's the whole science behind breath in this book. And we're going to practice something that comes out of this book. It's a 5-minute breath with music, which is exponentially even more powerful. So I'm just showing again these pictures just to validate, because our brains need validation. There's so much information going out there. And then the 3B, if you're not familiar with cymatics, I suggest that you go there. We're noticing now that there's so many therapies for music and the brain. It's even helping reverse Alzheimer's for kids and people that have, any sorts of mental, let's say, challenges. Music is extremely powerful. So the way we feed ourselves with music is going to be very important. And I'm going to leave you with that the music that you play is going to be instrumental in you staying in your highest, ability to manage whatever life is giving to you. So I'm going to stop there. I'm going to just maybe take a look at what the room looks like. Maybe a lot of people are off their screens and it's hard for me to see, but I'm going to start teaching you just the breath. Again, simple yet profound. So let me just see how many. So a lot of screens are off, and I understand it might be hard, and it's okay. Yeah, I'm getting some people turning them on. Just want to get a sense. Hey, Ariane. So this is the first one that I want to explain to all of you. A lot of people, when you say you're stressed, they say, take a deep breath in. Now, what we're knowing and realizing, if you're suffering with anxiety right now, it's not about taking a deep breath in, because that actually will increase the anxiety in the brain. So you do breathe in a little bit, but the exhale is the one that has to be really big and long, okay? It has to kind of help you just ground. So when you're feeling stressed or you're feeling overwhelmed, it looks more like just a small deep breath in, and then the exhale is going to look like this. You kind of just let it out, okay? So you do this either 1 or 2 or 3 in a row if you're feeling a lot of stress, right? Now, if you're going to inhale peace, you can just inhale that if that's already where you are. But if you're being very stressful, feeling very stressful at the moment, what you really want is that kind of longer, big exhale, okay? Because that's the first thing that a lot of people don't know about breath, and that we're learning, and it's so powerful. So let's go back to the presentation. I'm kind of going fast through this because I want us to actually get working. I want you to leave with as many resources as possible. So the first thing we're going to do together is we're going to get all our crap out. And crap in US American language, I think also British means, all our BS and all our shit out, but from our minds. I didn't know that crap stood for that. Even for, I don't know, I kind of learned about it like 3 years ago, and I said, oh yes, we're getting the crap out. And I used to do running these sessions with these executives until one pointed out that it may not be the best acronym. And I said, hey, it's not mine. It's Dr. Mark Waldman, who's the head of neuroscience at Loyola University. He teaches for business and executives. And here's your first tip. I'm going to recommend you have a piece of paper with you at all times when you're at your desk. And that's where you're going to keep your crap, because your mind has been trained to constantly keep you alert of potential risks. Now, the reality is that it doesn't differentiate from something that is like the tiger outside the cave to something that is really important. So what we're going to do right now for the first few minutes, we're going to take the crap out and we're going to write it on a piece of paper. What this does, it calms the mind down so you can actually focus on your screen. Okay, so piece of paper, better than the computer, right? Because then the mind is like, oh, my crap is still in the computer and I can't keep track of it. So if you can, here's what the crap stands for. It stands for any concerns that you may have or conflicts that you may have right now, any resistance to, I don't know, exercising, doing something, signing a contract, moving, whatever that is, any anxiety, any problems, any procrastination. Don't be concerned about trying to put them in categories. All these things just stand for fear, right? Anything you may be fearing and concerned about, that's just the way to pick it and put it on a piece of paper. So I'm going to give us, just so you get a taste for this, I'm going to give you 3 minutes so you get your crap out on a piece of paper. What is the crap that may be stopping you from being present right here, right now? You may be like, oh, I haven't made my dinner. Oh, I'm hungry. Like whatever it is, just write it on a piece of paper. It doesn't have to look pretty. You're just going to put it right there. And after 3 minutes, we're going to kind of wrap it up and then we're going to leave our paper there and we're going to go forward with that. Okay. So meanwhile, I'm going to look at the chat and see if there's any questions, but just take your time getting the yeah, I mean, Constantine, write as much as it's bothering you right now. We're just going to capture it for about 3 minutes. This is a practice that you can do, at the beginning of the day if you're getting distracted, or to plan your week. So yeah, so just for now, we're getting this as a practice. Ariane is asking whether it's better to unload in the morning or the evening. Yes, it's actually better to unload in the evening. The mornings are much better to visualize. But the main exercise we're going to do here today is going to be about how do we do this on a consistent basis to keep our focus on and our brains in the positive. And that's why we want to keep the crap next to us, the computer, because if there's something that is distracting you, you just write it down. And then you see if it's something major. But I'll give you 1 more minute and then I'll explain a little bit more about the crap and the practice of it. Thank you for asking, Ariane. Okay, start wrapping that up. And can my crap be written down as curse words? Please. So here's the thing. Do not censor what's coming out from inside of you, better out than in. Be as petty as whatever you want. This is for you. If somebody else looks at your crap, that's fine. We all have our thing. So just get whatever out on paper. It's going to be helpful. My suggestion with the crap and what the research shows and what Mark Waldman recommends is you do it once a week when you're planning your next week. You want to grab everything that's been concerning that week, you write it down, you look at really what's urgent and what's imminent. Is there really something that needs to be taken care now? Because a lot of what happens with these crap things that are coming are things that are not, they're not urgent, but your brain keeps telling you, you have to take care of this. But there are things either in the past or projections of the future, okay? So I'll give you, and then I'll coordinate, I'll put it on Slack. A lot of the resources that I'm using here, I'll give them to you as we go along, okay? And on Slack, so you can refer back to them. Okay, how people are doing, just want to get a sense, because I'm going fast and we're gonna go fast because I want to get, is this good? Are you guys feeling like the pace is good enough? Yeah, I'm getting some nods, just if right there. Okay, good. Okay, so I'm going to continue sharing my screen. Great, can I burn the paper with grab on it or keep it? So my suggestion is you keep the paper for a week, I'm sorry, for a month, because what's going to happen is you're going to see a pattern. We all have crap that even though we hate it, we hang on to it. We love to hang on to the stuff that doesn't work. And it's good to see it on paper over and over, because then you see there's a big resistance there to change. There's something that keeps going on and you're resisting to take action. And so this is a good way for you to just at least keep it going. What you can is to just scratch it, right? So it doesn't kind of have a life, you keep scratching it, but make it visible. This is something you're kind of learning what's been hitting. Okay, so this next part, we're going to get a bit mindy in the sense that we're going to go into, when I told you about my career in big systems and macro change. So we're going to go and take a look at where we're now in terms of humanity and history and systems, and why it's important always. And whenever I'm giving these trainings inside organizations, it's critical, because as human beings, we tend to just narrow down in ourselves in what's happening right here, or what's happened, 3 months ago, or what's going to happen something like 2 months in the future. We lose perspective of how we came to be. And this is going to be very important for all of us to learn about evolutionary and systems view. Now, what does this mean? It means that there's so much more that is happening that we can perceive with our 5 senses. Many of you are in technology, and you know that technology is giving us that ability to see things we couldn't see before with our eyes. We couldn't understand. And so this iceberg model is used a lot in systems thinking. This is from MIT Presencing Institute. Above the iceberg is what we see, right? These are the behaviors. So a lot of us want to change and want to become more productive and creative, and we go about changing our behaviors. I need to exercise, I need to do X, Y, Z. But what is invisible is underneath the water are the structures, the thoughts, and this word source, which is very difficult to identify for many people. But there's this energy inside of all of us, like this inner knowing, this intuition, that is really at the core, that is of the whole structure of how, and all these things are the ones that then create what's visible. So going into the invisible parts of us are critical for us to see the visible. So anything you want to change, you're going to have to go underneath the water. Now, again, I'm giving you a lot of information. There's going to be a lot of references for this. I just want you to be mindful that what we're going to be doing in this workshop is, yes, we're going to go into visible, and you've gotten a lot of tools about things, how to manage your business and how you do a lot of valuable things. We're going to be going a little bit deeper into here. It sounds, the words, don't be distracted by the words. Let your brain, tell your brain that it's okay. You don't have to get it. And again, it's going to be simple. Okay. So I'm just giving you a preview of the systems change. Now, this is what was happening. I had this graph made back in 2020, 2022 is even more exponential, but we had technology and COVID going exponentially. And then we have human adaptability doesn't change as fast, right? And then there's this VUCA world, we call it, of high volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. This is it was coined by the US Army when they started to go in Afghanistan, and they were fighting for the first time and realized that the tactics and the wars and the strategies that they had no longer worked because everything was volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And it's not only now, it's just that's kind of the nature of how the world feels. Now, what's happening is that as humans, we're trying to catch up with this, but the gap is getting bigger and bigger. And so the big question is this really what we want? And is there another way to see this extreme change? Is there another way that we can perceive reality so we don't feel like we're constantly trying to change things? So the best example of, let me just share my screen. Let's see here. I want to share this short video of how it looks like when you're trying to control things and you can't. I don't know how many of you have seen it. Let me just, can you guys see it? Yeah. So this is us trying to catch up with technology and trying to fix all the messes that we have. I don't know if you can relate, but when I saw it, I'm like, yeah, that's been me. This has been the last 2 years. So you can make light of it, and it can be a bit, it can be like, yeah, that relates. But when you're living it day in and day out, you realize how stressful it can become. And so the question is there another way of seeing things? And here's what E.O. Wilson has said about how we're seeing the world right now. Let me just wait. So the real problem with humanity is we have Paleolithic emotions, medieval institutions, and godlike technology. So he's saying like we're trapped, right? Like how we're advancing. Okay, let's all take a big exhale like we did, because this usually gets our brains a bit like, oh my God, this is so much information. So a small inhale and a long exhale. And just tell your brains, you're being introduced to this information. It's going to be available. And it's just important to get the framework so we can then go and make this very practical in your daily lives. Okay? So let's all take another small inhale and another big exhale as we look at this graph. And the big question that we're exploring, again, when I say we, remember all those networks that I'm participating with, this is not just me, is that maybe we as human beings have also been evolving exponentially, and we haven't really allowed ourselves to realize that we're still stuck in maybe 200 years ago of how we thought what we were capable of and we were capable of seeing. If we look at the Stone Age, 99% of humanity happened during the Stone Age. Then during the agriculture, so forget these little circles for now, okay? Let's just focus here on the bottom. When we went into agriculture, it was around 10,000, 12,000 years, we were an ag-based society. And then we had all these industrial revolutions. About 100 years were the first two of them. You first had steam, you then had electricity. The third industrial revolution was only about 40 years. And it's when we started to have computing. The World Economic Forum declared the fourth industrial revolution in 2016, because it's all the advent of AI, and we actually can program ourselves to become transhuman. And what we're proposing as a hypothesis is that we're here. There's a fifth change coming, and it's not about industrial thinking. It's about quantum thinking. All of these here in the Industrial Revolution were shaped, but why scientists knew at the time what was going on in the world and who we were. And it was shaped by mostly Newtonian thinking. And so we're going to look at that. Newtonian thinking was very mechanistic and separate. They would look at the world as everything has to be separate. We're a machine. And once we learn how to make the parts of the machine work, then we'll figure it out. And then you had Descartes saying, if I think for, therefore I am, right? And Ariane has been amazing at teaching us that most of us just go to work from the head up, right? Like we've forgotten that we have these emotions, that there's power and there's intelligence in the emotion and the gut. We actually now know that we have 3 brains really active, more neurotransmitters in the heart, more information going from the heart to the brain than the other way around. And then Darwin, there was a misinterpretation about competition. We now know that there's much more about collaboration, much more known about love and the way animals behave. But these were the stories that we believed throughout the industrial revolutions, and we still are inheriting some of them. However, there's been aspects of our society and leaders who have now began to adopt. If you look at this chart, what's starting to happen here, even at the early 1900s, with Einstein, we started to understand physics more through the quantum mechanics, right? So I'm not a physicist, I'm just actively studying it because I'm fascinated by it and what the impact that it has on leadership. And so this way of looking at life was always either or. Either I make money or I make good things. Either I do this or I do that. It's always feeling like a trade-off. And because of this big belief that it has to be a trade-off, a lot of wars, including the one you're having to experience right now, come from this place that there's not enough, right? There's a collective mindset that this is the way out. Now, the new stories that are emerging is a both and. What does that mean? And this is very important for your businesses. Quantum mechanics tells us that everything is interconnected. It also tells us, and I'm not going to go into explaining a lot of it, is that depending on what you're observing, right? They have the double slit experiment. If you're observing something, that reality manifests. They're also telling us in interpersonal neurobiology that we're able to focus, and our thoughts, we're able to decide. Our thoughts are not just coming in automatic. We can actually change our thinking. And you've had a lot of previous coaches telling you how to change that thinking. So we know about this. And then there's a new story coming up that humanity is really kind at heart. We're not really the savages that we've been told. There's a book actually called Humankind that is now revising, even going back to the Stone Age and all these stories that we thought about, tribes killing each other and all of that. With new technologies, we're learning that a lot of things we thought that humans were fighting and hating each other were actually not so. There's a new story emerging of who we've been as Homo sapiens. So we're in this precious time in history where a lot of what we knew to be true is not. But the reality of what is still not super solid. So we're all living in this ambivalence. And that's our moment in history for everybody that's on this call, is that we're kind of in between trapezes, okay? So let's do an experiment. Again, I was telling you, this is mindy things. It's sciencey. Some of you may even know about, may be a physicist here and engineers and have heard about this. How do we apply this to ourselves? We're going to do what it's called a quantum think experiment. It is being done by the Institute of Futurism and Gaming in California. They're doing this a lot to create new scenarios of the future. They even predicted the pandemic. So don't underestimate the value of what this 30-second new exercise we're going to do. So I'm going to invite all of you to sit up straight. We're going to use our breath again. We're going to close our eyes for a moment. Okay, you're going to be downloading information and seeing yourself from a different perspective. Okay, so just take a small deep breath in and exhale long. And another small deep breath in and exhale. And a third one. And exhale. And I want you now to observe yourself as if you were looking down at yourself from the ceiling. And I want you to notice what you're wearing. I wanted you to scan your room, look around, as if you're a drone. Start scanning things around you. Maybe you can even expand your view and start scanning who else is in that room with you. Who else is in your house? And you start to scan maybe what's going on outside from a perspective like a drone. You're just taking in information from that perspective. Okay, and you're coming back down, looking at yourself from above. And I'm going to ask a question, and then you're going to open your eyes and you're just going to write it down. Okay, so you're looking at yourself. And the question you're going to ask yourself is, what is it that is most important for me right now? So open your eyes gently and just answer that question. What is most important for you right now? Just whatever comes to mind. It's an exercise. So here's what, it's a change of perspective. I'm gonna see that people are still, the ones that I can see in the video are still writing. Why is this exercise so valuable? Again, simple. I'm gonna keep repeating this until we say goodbye today. But extremely profound is because when you do this, you'll get access to information that your brain was not seeing and was not able to capture before. And you can actually move that and go back in time and ask, what does my younger you, for example, have to say about the problem I have right now? How would you solve it? What would the person that is about, to transition, and if I'm about to die, what would they recommend? You can even go into somebody's mind in a way. You could go visit them long distance. What would my friend Ariane do if she was in my shoes right now? How would she solve this? How would this author solve this? Right? So you're starting to get information. You don't know 100% that it's true, but you're going to start downloading perspectives and ideas that you never would have done if you just stayed focusing on yourself, looking at the screen. This is raising your awareness at another level, accessing what would Mandela say? How would he act under this circumstance? Anybody that you admire, and there's a quadrant for quantum think and quantum solution. You can do this with your team. You can hold them to like a big problem that you may have as a collective. Maybe it's a budget problem, maybe it's something. And you can do this exercise and be like, what would these investors that we admire say? What are they looking at? What are again, all these powerful questions, but you're observing from above. If they were in our shoes. So this is very important tool for forecasting and downloading information that we didn't have before possible. You first calm down your brain, and I'm going to show you. We'll go into this video later on. I'm just mindful of time because it's a very powerful video to allow you to expand your reality and how you observe and perceive reality. Let me just go into this. Okay, let's all take a small bit inhale and have a big exhale. We're just quieting our mind. Forecasting and leading from the emerging future. There's a lot of people before us that have gone and figuring this out. You'll get access to the slides. You can go into the books. I'm giving you, these are the 3 big long exhales. But here's the big thing. Remember that quote that I put, that we still have very primitive emotions? That's if we believe ourselves to be back into kind of our 99% kind of stone age and not really evolving. And it takes less than 1 second to hearing an emotional triggering word for the limbic brain to react, from that part of the brain to react. So this is something called, from Dr. Dawson, another brilliant neuroscientist, called bliss brain. Usually what happens is you hear the word, it gets triggered like a reptile. and then it goes down into your nervous system and you just react. Now, depending on what you're seeing outside of you, what your questions are asking, this is going to be the short path. What we've been doing with the long path and what we did now by observing ourselves above is that we're training our brain to go around the long path. This is a muscle that gets built. This is a muscle that gets built through breathing. This is a muscle that gets built through meditation. This is why it becomes so important, because when you're doing this breath and when you're doing this meditation, and what I'm going to teach you, which is going to be very brief, yet extremely powerful, you're building this. So things start coming up at you, but instead of going the short path, you're now going to go the long path. And going back to Ariane's question of how long should you keep the crap is everything that is triggering you to go to the short path, right? So once we have it on paper, we start getting a sense, what have I been trained to react like that? And so then you start getting a better sense of how to manage that crap better and take more the long path through this breathing and what we did right now with just observing ourselves. Okay, so the how is going to be a key thing. Let me look at time because I want to make sure. I estimated an hour and a half, so I just want to make sure that we're all in agreement. I want to see how do I pace myself for the exercises that are coming along. Can I just get a sense from the organizers? We do have an hour and a half from everybody here. Yes, okay, some thumbs up. Okay. So I'm going to be done with a lot of let's go back. We're going to go back to I'm going to stop here. We're going to do this exercise, which is the cosmic eye. Okay, let me just get a sense if I can see people. Can I just get on the chat how people are doing right now? Are you feeling too much information? Are you okay? To get the main idea of the speaker that can really change my life, we need to exhale by mouth, always, or by nose. Okay, Constantine, you are exhaling through your mouth when you're trying to calm your nervous system. Now, when we're going to be training the long path, we're going to inhale and exhale only through the nose. And we'll do that, okay? So we're doing good. Now, here's what I want to do with this video. It's 3 minutes. Instead of you watching it passively, I want to invite all of you. There's going to be a woman lying down. This is how it's open. She's lying down on the grass. You're going to imagine you are that woman, and that everything that the video is going to show, you're going to feel and see it as if it's you that is able to observe what's going on. And this is really going to go out and allow us to see from a different perspective who we are as humans, and then from a very large, big perspective, and then from a quantum, smaller perspective, okay? With pace and different ideas, sometimes difficult to connect. Great session, okay. So I'll be mindful. I understand that there's a lot of information. I'm doing this on purpose because I just want you to have a taste of what this is like. I want to leave all of you with what's going to be a personal manifesto that you can reprogram in your brain, that is going to reprogram your brain to go the long path, to solve solutions, to look at the world more from a quantum perspective. So not try to catch with, we're going to close that gap from human adaptability. And then you'll have the resources to go in and look for what I'm teaching you if you find that there's areas that you needed more help. Everything right now is available, but I'm guiding you now into how to do this. Okay, so it's a bit on purpose that I'm going fast, and I understand sometimes for people it gets confusing. Okay, so just tell your brain it's fine to be confused. Okay, can you just let your brain know that it's okay to be confused right now? Okay, now for the next 3 minutes, let your brains know that all you need to do is just imagine yourself being the person in the video. Okay, we're all good. We're all telling our brains what to do. Awesome. Okay, so this is called the cosmic eye. How many of you have seen it? If not, we're going to go into it. So again, you are this woman. you're not the woman, but just imagine yourself that you're on the grass like that. And we're going to take this trip for 3 minutes. Okay, here we go. Okay. How is that? How is that a perspective? Yeah, so the reason why I'm showing that is because when we realize that we're these human beings inside a blue dot in the middle of an ever expanding universe. So whenever you have a major problem and you go back to, I am this human being in a universe that has existed for 13.8 billion years, part of a Homo sapiens, you know, I'm a Homo sapiens that existed for 400,000 years. And this is what is visible now through technology. And look at what's also visible inside of me. There's so much we don't know, right? There's so many things yet to learn, but it gives us a perspective of how things are going and what we can do now with our lives. We get this precious moment in time, you know, an average of 84 years or whatever it is. But whenever you're thinking of, hey, what is a quantum vision? What is an evolutionary vision of what's going on, a systems view? Don't forget that we're part of this much bigger story that's going on in the universe right now and in the evolution of human history and in the evolution of the planet. Okay, so I bring this to mind because the tools that I'm going to introduce to you now, again, extremely simple yet profound, are designed so you get to choose that no matter what is happening outside your life. Remember, I showed you the pictures at the beginning of these young street children, or this girl, my own experience with drug cartels, a lot of things that I've gone through, and the realization, Viktor Frankl in concentration camps, the realization of human beings throughout history have been that no matter what's happening outside, what our senses are picking out outside, there's an internal power that is beyond anything we have really been able to experience, that allows us, that no matter what's happening outside, it allows us to stay centered. It allows us to be feeling good and okay, which sounds like very difficult, but it's been possible. And that allows us to forecast what's coming up in the future. So what we're seeing with a lot of futurists and forecasting, because data analytics, now you can see a lot of trends happening, is that if we're so close into our little world and what's going on and what's wrong, we're not really able to take that bigger view of what's happening, and we're missing the cues of the opportunities that are coming along. And I know there were previous speakers that showed that it's during the toughest times in humanity that some people have created the biggest advances in businesses, in humanity, have been made when we are in this kind of VUCA world environment. Now, what has differentiated those that have been able to do that is because instead of focusing in what's not working and shining our light on that, we've been able to look at quantumly from the up here. You look at yourself, you expand your vision. What am I missing? What can I not see because I'm so concerned about right here, right now? Okay. So we're going to go now into how do you access your own inner power to do that? Are you guys with me for that? And then we'll go into questions. Let me just turn my phone off. Sorry, I'm in a bit of a issue right now because my mom's not been doing that great. But we're going to go into doing our own power, yet again, simple yet profound. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we did this. Now, here is, again, we're going to go, sorry about that. Share. There are 3 codes, and this is coming from MIT. They've been studying quantum mechanics in leadership now for over 50 years. How do you apply everything that Einstein and David Bohm and all these people learned about quantum mechanics? They've been applying it to humans and leadership, and it's coming from that. There's a strategy. You have to open your mind. So you have to believe and see things differently. You have to ask questions. You know this. You have to also open your heart and open the will. And so I'm going to give you insights into how we do this. There's a formula, right? You inquire. You look at your thoughts. You're going to activate your emotions, and we're going to take something called Kaizen steps. Okay, so the formula is 3. You open your mind, you open your heart, you open the will. We're going to be practicing this a lot in the next 5 minutes. So please don't get concerned. You'll see how this works. Okay, so there's something called the Phoenix process. It was developed by the Institute of Imagery in New York City. It's what some of the biggest athletes use. The brain doesn't distinguish between something you vividly imagine to something that you can you really be able to experience. Sorry, I'm distracted by these phone calls. Just making sure that it's not from my mom's caregiver. I need to take a small deep breath in and just calm myself down. Be back here. Take the long path, and I'm back. So you guys got an example of how this works in real time. So there's something called the Phoenix process, and it's so powerful that when you learn to use it, it only requires 30 seconds to do it. Because what it is, it's going to reprogram your brain to be able to observe things, to sense things, to see things that other people are not seeing, not through their 5 senses, through intuition, through synchronicity. And the way we do it, it's 4 steps. This is a simplified version, but this is what It's all you need. You're going to say it, you're going to see it, you're going to feel it, and you're going to be it. Don't worry about the formula. I'm going to go into every single step. We're going to design our own simplified Phoenix process, okay? It's going to be 30 seconds. So when we open the mind, we're going to be asking these propelling questions. When you get the slides, you're going to see where I'm taking these resources from. And so the first thing I want to do with all of you is that the main reason why we can't open our minds and we may get stuck with our own problems is because as humans, we all have something called a core deficiency story. When we were born, after 2 years of age, we started to realize that we were separate from our parents. And we all developed some sort of core deficiency story. All our limiting beliefs that we may have come from 1 or 2 or maybe 3 of these. And it doesn't matter if you go to a tribe in the middle of the Amazon, they have these beliefs. If you're human, you have it. You have a version of them. I'm not good enough. I'm not capable. I need to be perfect. I'm insignificant. I don't belong. I'm not worthy. Okay. I have gone through different ones depending on what's happening on in my life. My core deficiency story of choice right now is I'm not capable. I'm a single mom of a 15-year-old. My mom is in final months of life, which gets me a bit emotional, and I'm taking care of her. And I'm running my own business and I'm doing all of it. And my core story of why I keep getting stuck and going back into victimhood is because what comes up for me is that I'm not capable to do it all. Right? So when I'm believing that, I really shut down and go into stress. Now, in the past, I used to have I'm not good enough. And that's why I became a super nerd. And I studied because I needed to be good enough. I needed to learn everything possible so I could just figure it out. Because if I became good enough, I figured it out, I would not suffer. All of these stories that we have are to avoid feeling like we're going to die, that we can't really do it. There are people that need to do things perfectly. There are people that believe the story that they need to be I'm insignificant and therefore they overcompensate by having to do and have a lot of money or show things. There's the story of I don't belong. I used to also have that one very strongly with my family, or I'm not worthy. So if you're on this call and you're human, you probably have, I don't know if there are any bots here on this call, which could be. I laughed when I was doing a training with Accenture because they wanted to have some bot kind of thing following, taking notes. And I was like, okay, this feels weird, but let's go with it. So I want you to identify what's your main challenge right now and what could be one of these stories that may be holding you, because this is where we open our minds. When I open my mind to the opposite of I'm not capable, which is I am capable, I realize I don't need to do it alone. I am capable of asking for help. I am capable to reaching out to my friends, to my mom's friends, to family, to ask for help and say, hey, you know what? I can't do this all alone. Can you take care of this? Can you take the food for her? Can you do this? Can we hire somebody? So the capable story for me, I realized when I went into it, and we don't have time for that, but you have to sit with these stories and see, when I'm believing this, how am I acting? So who would you be without it, right? So let's take 1 minute and identify your core deficiency story, because we're going to create a new one. And that's the one you're going to practice with the Phoenix process. That's the one you're going to start visualizing. That's the one you're going to start embodying and acting out, okay? And if you're doing this with your teams, when I do accelerators with teams inside innovation teams, teams also have a core deficiency story. So if you have a team you're working with and you're getting stuck, and maybe we're not good enough to get the investors. We need to be perfect before we get the money. We don't belong doing this. We're not whatever. Teams also have a version of this, and you can also deprogram it at a team level. Okay, so this is not just for individuals, it also works with teams. So how many of you have been able to find a core deficiency story? If you guys want to add yours to the chat so everybody else can feel human and be like, oh, okay, I'm not alone. Yes, a few, says Ariane. Somebody has to leave. Totally understand that. Yes, most. So yes, we have a variation of them, right? So the beauty of that is once we know they're there, we can unprogram them. Okay, so that's what we're going to do now. And all of this that we've been doing until now is to actually get to this. So again, how do you do this? You open your mind and you turn it around. You see yourself as the opposite of that story. And the second step is we're activating our emotions. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Harry Potter. I'm a big fan. So remember the Patronus, Harry Potter does that by activating his emotions. He starts visualizing and seeing himself with courage, with love, with understanding. And then the demons, they have no possibility with the lights, right? And we're starting to see people with biosensors now connected when they're thinking beautiful thoughts and calming thoughts and emotions. Their energetic field of the heart expands even to 3 feet, 6 feet out of the body. So technology, again, is allowing us to see that this is real. And then music, right? So when we're opening our heart and activating our emotions, music is a key of what is the song? What is the song I'm playing? What is the song I can play? So our Phoenix process, I'm going to invite you to do it. Come up with the Phoenix for you, like I'm capable, and we're going to go through that, and then maybe pick a song that you play. Okay, and then we're going to take the Kaizen steps. Kaizen steps, what does Kaizen step mean? They mean it's so small, they're so small, we're cheating the brain. So the brain doesn't want to change. Doesn't want to do the long path. It takes a lot of energy. The brain's been programmed to keep you safe. I've kept you safe. Don't change me. So what we do with very small, consistent steps and Phoenix process, 30 seconds a day is very small, and taking very small actions, it doesn't notice that we're changing. So it's able to really do things differently. Okay. So we're going to go now into how this formula works. So right now, I'm going to invite you to write your personal manifesto for what you're dealing with right now. And it may sound like I am going to be capable, courageous, and positive, or whatever it is that you want. You're going to write down, not too long, something very simple. So for me lately is, I am capable of doing this with love, gratitude, and appreciation. Right? So that's my saying it. So please take a few minutes to write down your Phoenix, what it is that you're going to say it. Okay, so for now, we're just writing it. The Phoenix has these 3 steps. We're going to just keep practicing it with music. And the remainder of the time we have together, it's all about practice. It's all about getting this down, these 30 seconds, so you can live with this. And again, you could also have a team manifesto that you can do together. You can all just sit in silence, read it out, and do it together. Also, they've shown there's a group out of Stanford called Consciousness Hackers. They've done this, connecting all of their brains together and visualizing and doing this together, and it's produced incredible results. So just take some time to write down what that manifesto looks like. I'm going to stop the share there. Anybody has an example of a manifesto or something that you wrote that's going to be your new manifesto of how you're dealing right now? I'm capable of taking advantages of the situation that has happened to me and put all my efforts and talents to reach my goals and even get a new level. Beautiful, Constantine. Okay, anybody else wants to share theirs? And when you're practicing this, Phoenix, it doesn't have to be exactly as you're saying it. And the more simple, the easier it's for the brain to feel it and to experiencing it. It can change. But the beauty of this is that you're stating how you're creating yourself to be and how you want to observe reality, even the chaos going outside, who you're going to be with everything that's going on outside, how you're choosing to show up, what's going to happen. That's what we're declaring. Okay, so I'm going to show you how the Phoenix work. I'm capable to gain new knowledge and have fun, Molina. Beautiful. That's great. I will be confidently capable, Zena. Beautiful. That's awesome. Okay, we're getting some really good ones here. Anybody else, just share them there. So here's how the Phoenix work. Remember, we started with the breath. That's why I wanted to get you all. We're going to go prime our brains so our brains are ready to actually see and have a quantum vision of what it is that we're doing. So the way it works is you sit up straight, because that's how the breath actually, the brain goes better with the long path. There's a reason why in the meditation they tell everybody to sit up straight, because it allows the oxygen to actually come in easier. So you sit up straight when you're doing the Phoenix. They share, you can sit like a pharaoh, you know, like sitting on a big, you're looking down at your life. You're in a big, how do you call that in English? I don't know, throne. You're kind of the king, the queen of your life. You're sitting up, like looking like that. And you close your eyes and you're going to slowly inhale like we've been doing, and exhale. And you do this 3 times. So you inhale again and you exhale. Now we're going to go for the third one. Inhale and exhale. So you do those breathing and then you say it, right? So if you're Alina, you're going to say, I'm capable to gain new knowledge and have fun. Or Zena, I'm confidently capable. Whatever it is, you say it in your mind. And the next thing is you see it. So you see images of you being that. And you see images of you being that from the drone perspective. Remember, that's what we did. This is how we're connecting all the dots. See yourself from that drone view. See yourself being that. See yourself going out and being capable. See images of you. And what's going to start happening as you start seeing that, you're going to start feeling it, which is the next step. And the most important step is the actual emotion. So you feel like you kind of go to your heart and you feel how good it's going to feel to be capable. So when you're feeling, when you're activating the emotion, that is when all the neurotransmitters start getting in sync and collaborating between them and getting you the long path and seeing a new reality for you. So again, you're exhaling for 3, you're saying it, you're seeing it, and you're feeling it. Okay? So you feel how good it feels, and then you open your eyes. And what you do is you jot down 3 small steps you can take immediately to bring that to reality. So if it were me right now, I would write down, call my friend Titi, who helps, and ask her to help me with recipes for my mom. You know, just very basic things, right? Like capable. And then I just have like 3 small steps that I can take in the next 5 to 10 minutes that would get me moving in that direction and feeling that I'm confidently capable. Those are the Kaizen steps. This is how you start. The 3 small steps that you can take are going to be very important. Okay? So I'm going to stop now. I want to open for questions, and then I want us to go into the 5-minute breathing that I was telling you about before, and then practice more. I want us to practice the Phoenix, your Phoenix, at least 3 times. Now, don't stay over a minute with the Phoenix, because your old programming is going to start going in, telling you you can't do it. That's never going to happen. It's been telling you this story for maybe years, and it's going to go on guard. Your whole immune system is going to be up and being like, danger, danger, new thought, new beliefs coming in, forget it. We need to act, deactivate, you know, kill the bomb. And that's kind of how it works. So if you do it 30 seconds or less, you don't activate that internal danger of, oh shit, I'm actually going to change. I'm actually going to be able to do this. No, let's stay small. So you really time yourself to make it short. And that's going to be important. Then the visualization and the imagery, you can then expand it later on. But at the beginning, when you're trying to really move something, it's going to be important that you just gamify your brain for that. Okay, let's take one small inhale in and big exhale out. I'm going to teach you another breathing. Since my ex-husband is Italian, my daughter is Italian. This is going to really center you in and kind of help us change our thoughts. It's called the Italian calming down. You wouldn't believe it or not, it's possible. So if you look at my arms, they're perpendicular. And I'm going to just be moving them, really inhaling, like doing like a lot of this, inhaling, exhaling. And then I'm going to bring them up and then I'm going to just put them down like that. Okay. So let me just show you. I'm sorry, I'm just having a little bit of issues with my shirt right now. Okay. Guys, ready to really settle in? So just copy me then. You're just really inhaling and exhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth. If you need to change topics, if you need to calm your whole system down, ground, this is really good. Okay, so here we go. 1, 2, 3. Come on, Italians. Raise your hands, stop, and just close your eyes. Feel the energy from your palms and just bring it like a veil and just calm your whole body down. And exhale out. How was that? Did you guys feel the energy in your hands calming you down? Okay, awesome. Good. So let's start with questions. Any questions right now? And this has been amazing. Thank you. Somebody has to run. Any questions? Or we go into the final breathing with the music, and then we can practice. What do you guys want?
I have a question.
Sure. Please.
So actually, in the past, I've done this exercise, the crab one. Actually, in Ukraine, it's also known as a мысленневый цвяходер, but actually the purpose is to free your mind. However, I never heard this connotation that you're just putting this to the paper to come down and actually do nothing about it. What is the instrument? The instrument after that? I mean, so I'm writing everything down. I can keep it for a week or months, and what is the trick here? Should I pay attention to that? So I exercised it as a strictly short-term exercise, like wrote it down and threw it away. It's like or like to keep it for one night or to come down right now. And what is this CRAP about a little bit more deeply? Please explain.
Yeah, that is an awesome question. So what they've noticed is that your thoughts are like little kids that are nagging you constantly, and they want your attention. And they're usually concerns, they're usually crap. You're trying to work, you're trying to get things done, you really want to make a difference, you want to focus on what matters and what you want to create, and you have this little nagging. What happens with the brain, if you have something written down, it's not right in front of you, it's on the side, right? You have it there, your mind feels heard, and your kids are like, okay, nap time. That's really kind of how it works, right? So you write them down, you keep focused. Now, you go back to that page and you look at what your mind has been telling you and see what actions you really need to take. What is it really that your mind is telling you that maybe are things you don't want to see, maybe things you are procrastinating for a reason. But the idea of the crap is to allow you to, the reason why we did it at the beginning is to allow you to be more present in this session, but it's also as a tool, because when you're creating the future, the crap is going to be trying to hold you back from that. It's going to try and hold you from focusing on what's possible and what's next. So this is just an exercise to have it there. As Ariane said, you can scratch it, you can let it go. What I do is just have a blank piece of paper in the morning where I'm going to have my crap throughout the day. If it comes up, then I write something down and I know it's there. It just helps the brain to calm down and I can focus. I'll then look at it and be like, so it can become like a, sometimes people say it becomes a to-do list, but it's really more just a way to calm your brain down. It's more the concerns, you know, am I really going to get the money? Am I really? And so when you do it and try it, you know, it may work for you, it may not. These are all just tools that are there and available, right? So yeah, what's best exercise when you either can't fall asleep and you wake up? Yeah, Ariane saying that is a great exercise. If your mind is trying to tell you things, you just write it down, and then we can, the breathing that we're going to do, which comes from the book of James Nestor, which is this 5-minute breath. So he goes through a whole book of, I think, over 20 different breathings that you can do to calm your mind, to do this, to get exercise, to do all these other things. And then he says the one that they've identified that is the most powerful is a 5-minute breathing in which you inhale for 5 seconds and you exhale for 5 seconds through the nose. And that's the most powerful breathing you can do. So did that help with your question? Basil, am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah?
There, you pinpoint that this is not the to-do list and
No.
the concern. Yeah, so this is a connotation which actually like totally new, like from here. So it is. Thank you.
Yeah. So thoughts are. Let me show you some prompts here. Thoughts are like this. You know, I do this a lot with. I used to do them with kids when I would train them in class, but now I use them with the executives. We all have these thoughts, and they come around, and they're nagging, and they're like here. And what we're doing is we're like, okay, I hear you, down. Yes, thank you. Johan is putting me down and I'm not going to be able to get my promotion, down. He's ruining my life because he doesn't give me the whatever. My dad has the power, whatever, right? Like all these are thoughts. And all you're doing is just let them go to take a nap. And then you pick them up and say, yeah, this one is urgent, or this one I'm making it up. You're observing, right? Again, you're observing yourself and you're observing your thoughts. And I know other speakers have looked at this, right? So that's hopefully something. A lot of these things are, I'll reference where you can get more information, who you can follow, and get more tips into that.
Yeah, I want to comment that. I call it compartmentalizing part.
Yeah.
It worked for me perfectly, but I never use this, you know, as a specific mind setup to have this. So then after the crap exercise, you're capable to do kind of quantum think, or so from the, let's put it this way, to think more freely, more creatively, like you are not enrooted with all of these things. Thank you once again. Yeah.
You're welcome. I'm seeing other questions. Please, Zaina, guide me.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to mention that there's a question that we missed here about these practices and how can you how to deal with how to work with kids as far as like I assume breathing exercises.
Well, I mean, the Phoenix is something that kids love because they haven't. Most kids haven't totally censored their imagination, right? The core deficiency stories that they have are kind of new, right? They've just kind of created that kind of playing. And what happens once we create the core deficiency stories, we go out to try to corroborate it, right? So with kids, it's really good because depending on the age, you can say, well, how would your superhero think about this, right? If this was let's just pretend you're that, and then, okay, see images, see yourself doing that, feel how good it's going to feel, and then how you do it. So they love doing the Phoenix. It's so natural for kids and even youth. It becomes more difficult when the older we get and the more attached we are to believing that life is against us and our story. So there's more questions. What else am I missing? Any more here?
That was just the one about references and articles and books.
Okay. Do you guys want to do this 5-minute Nestor breath with a special music, just to calm really and visualize? While we're doing it, I'm going to speak briefly throughout the 5 minutes just to help you visualize the phoenix. Does that sound like a good plan? Are you guys up for it? Okay, awesome. So again, find a comfortable position. If you're tired and you just want to do it lying down, you can. But I recommend sitting up. It's just better. And so the way this is going to work is you're going to be breathing through your nose very slightly for that. The music will tell you. You don't even have to count. It's been programmed. This music's been programmed for the inhaling 5. You're going to inhale 5 through the nose for 5 seconds and exhale through the nose. Okay? And the music's been timed, everything. I'm going to be speaking a little bit throughout, and let's go. So if you have headphones, this is a good moment to wear them. You don't have to. They've been designed with a special music that it affects both the left and the right hemisphere. Okay, everybody ready? Okay, let's take one big exhale. And let's go. So breathing in through the nose, letting it out through the nose. Breathing in through the nose. Breathing out through the nose. And as you continue to breathe, just imagine that there's like a machine that just, maybe a shower, taking away all your concerns, maybe even any tension in your body, just scanning it down like a magnet, pulling it out from you. And inhaling peace or whatever way you want to feel, and letting out any stress. Going back to your mind's eye, remembering we're in this blue small planet suspended in the middle of nowhere. Maybe feeling a gratitude to be alive in this moment in time. Focusing your attention on the center of your chest. Start bringing in who you want to be. What is that personal manifesto? It doesn't have to be one thing. Who do you want to be? Maybe it's more courageous. Maybe it's more accepting. Maybe it's borrowing superpowers from history. Heroes and heroines have gone before us, inhaling their ability to see things clearly. Just breathing that in. Staying your phoenix. Starting to see images, looking at yourself from above, of you doing this. The future, in the days ahead. And feel in your heart how good it's going to feel to start acting this way. And let it go. Just be here with the breath. Breathing in, inhaling a lot of vitality. And an energy that allows you to rest calmly as you go to sleep tonight. And as the music starts to fade, consciously choose who you're going to be when you open your eyes. Doesn't matter the past, doesn't matter anything that's happened, anything you did, you haven't done. Now is all that counts. Make a conscious choice, an intention of who you want to be when you open your eyes. And taking a small breath in and a bigger exhale out. Coming back to the now and opening your eyes. Maybe rubbing your hands together, putting them over the eyes, or just. I am willing to stay a few more minutes if anybody else has any more questions. If not, I will be sending you this deck and putting it on Slack, making it available. You'll see references to all the authors of where I'm getting the tools. Happy to respond to any questions as they come up. Anything else?
That was a very nice meditation ending.
It's very powerful. The music, it's not available yet to be shared. This is from Barry Goldstein, who is doing a lot of the research of the power of music and reprogramming the brain. You can look him up on YouTube. It's called Barry Goldstein. I did
Very good.
Finish the course with him, and I've asked him if I can share this 5-minute, but he hasn't given me permission yet, and I can't share it yet, but hopefully it will be out soon for everybody to have access to it.
Nice.
Okay. Thank you all so much. It's been my privilege to be here with all of you. I am deeply touched and encouraged by each one of you showing up and letting the rest of us know what humanity can look at its best. You've been an example of that to me, and I'm very appreciative of that. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye,
Thank you very
everybody.
much for joining us.
Thank you. Make it a great evening. Hope our paths cross
Same
again.
to you.
Okay.
Bye
Bye,
bye.
everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.